How's it going, everyone? King Blacktooth here, and as usual, I'm still breathing, which is the perfect time to play some more Gwent. So this video is a guide to Bluffing, which is generally aimed at beginners and possibly intermediate players. A nice reminder for the expert players as well, including myself, but it's all about bluffing your opponent. Gwent has been remarked upon as being a very heavy bluffing and baiting kind of game. So I want to just go over what we mean by that and how you can do it. So for any beginners out there that are watching, I just want to state the importance of card advantage. So card advantage can win you entire game, really. And if you don't know what that is, it's how many cards I have in my hand compared to the opponent. Okay, who has card advantage here. So this will fluctuate as the game progresses. I mean, you'll both start with 10 cards in hand upon the opening draw, but whoever has to go first will, be the first card to place a card down and lose some card advantage. You win round 1, you've got to go first round 2, so it will look like you've got less card advantage in round 2. You will have, most likely, than your opponent, but when they win round 2, you'll get some of that card advantage back. So it will fluctuate, but things like Decoy, where you pick up a card, or Spies, where you place it on the opponent's side and draw a card from your deck to your hand, these gain you card advantage, and means you're going to have more cards than your opponent in general. And this is really important for things like the final round, final turn. If you have to pass because you ran out of cards, and I've still got 2 cards left, I had 2 card advantage over you, then I can really just keep 2 cards back, which will win me the game, and really dictate how you're going to play, and really push you, and keep some of my really vulnerable things back, and then play them after you can't do anything about them. So card advantage is very important. It's going to be very important to analyze your card advantage when you're bluffing. So Gwent is renowned for its bluffing and baiting, and there is a lot of it in the game. Scoia'tael can do some excellent baiting and bluffing with their ambush cards like Toraville, Kieran, and the Dragoons, which give them strength. I'm not really going to get into the specifics of certain factions, but rather the game on a whole, and how every faction, how every player has to, what they have to consider when they're placing cards down in order to try and bluff a little bit. Then the main type of bluffing that I'm going to talk about is making the opponent pass, making them think that you can't win this particular round, and then beating them with 1 card. This is most effective in round 1, although there are some instances where you push the opponent so far in round 2 that they will pass, thinking that you can't possibly beat them, and then you can still beat them. But most of the time it will work in round 1. So the first way you're going to do this is by manipulating the total strength of your opponent and yourself. And you want to keep behind the opponent in total strength. You don't want to match them. You want to be considerably behind them, but know what card you're going to place so you can beat them in 1 card. So for example, if you had a 12 strength gold Geralt, you know that you need to be within 12 strength of them. So 11 is probably best. The greater the difference that you can make up, the more likely the opponent is to pass. But the harder it is for you to do so, of course. So when they're placing their bronze units and you're placing yours, try and stay 10 or 11 units behind them. Okay? And when they do pass, you place Geralt and you'll just jump ahead and you'll win. So Geralt is a non-flexible one. He is only going to bridge you 12 strength. And there are plenty of other cards which can bridge a massive difference. And we'll get onto those in a moment. So let's go over some cards which are used to bluff your opponent into passing. Okay, so there's quite a few of them. They all act slightly differently. They give you or your opponent different amounts of strength. So you have to understand what reactions it will bait the opponent into making so you can bluff them. So the first one is Siri. She's a 6 strength gold card, neutral. And what she does is when you lose a round and she's on the board, she will come back to your hand. So that gives you 1 card advantage. Now, foregoing the fact that she can be destroyed by a couple of cards, if you're competing for a round and you place Siri down, normally what that tells your opponent is, okay, I feel like I've lost this round, I'm going to place Siri so at least I get the card advantage back when I lose. So by placing Siri down, you're looking like you're going to lose the round. Okay, so your opponent may think, okay, he's going to lose, so there's no point in playing anything else, I'll just pass. So sometimes when you place Siri down, it forces a pass, depending on how big the strength is. And hopefully you've got a card in mind where you can just jump up and win. Now the negative to playing Siri is obviously that if you play her down and then you play another card to win, you are going to lose the card advantage that you would have got if you had lost with Siri down. So Siri is a card that you can use to bluff. Some factions really like to win round one, and you may feel like you will sacrifice that one card advantage in order to do that. Okay, so the second type of card is your spy cards. Now, these will differ a lot. They have different types of strengths, different abilities. Some of them are gold, some of them are silver, for example, but they are all disloyal. So what this means is that you play them on the opponent's side of the board, and you give the strength that's on that card to your opponent, but you gain a card from your deck to your hand, gaining card advantage. Now, let's take Prince Dennis, for example. He's an 8 strength melee Northern Round spy. He's silver as well. So if you played Prince Dennis in round 1 on your opponent, you're going to give them 8 strength. So this is manipulating your opponent's total strength by +8, and you're going to stay relatively low. So you've made it quite a bit of a gulf there in terms of total strength between you and your opponent. So your opponent is going to react in 2 different ways to this. The first way is he's going to decoy it up and play it against you. Okay, this is giving you the total strength and means that he might try and bait out a pass from you. Because the card advantage is really important, that decoying spies is pretty much priority for anyone if they can do it. However, if you don't think they've got it, or they've already used their decoy or whatever, then that means the other reaction is probably he's seeing that his strength has now been increased a lot and yours is still quite low, so he might pass, thinking that, okay, it's going to take the opponent 2 or 3 cards to beat this strength now, so I'll just pass and let him do that. But hopefully, if you played that spy in round 1, because normally you wouldn't, you have a card in hand that can win you the game in 1 card. Very important that you don't waste too much, because card advantage is very important. A good example of this is Aeromancy or Biting Frost. If you played Prince Dennis, which is a melee card on the opponent's side of the board, and he has quite a few melee units as well, you play Biting Frost, set them all to 1, and that might bridge the gap. Okay, so spies are really good at playing round 1 if you know that you have a card to beat it, you know, because they go on different rows and such, and you think your opponent might pass due to the strength differential. The third card, well, this is not as effective, but it does give you the inclination that possibly you are going to pass, is Adrenaline Rush. If you start putting Adrenaline Rush on cards, people start to think, okay, the round's coming to a close, he wants to use Adrenaline Rush, so, you know, he can keep that card for next round. So, again, this is less likely to bait out a pass, but it might do, depends on how heavy you've been putting into this particular round. Okay, even if it doesn't bring out a pass, it's still beneficial for you because you get to keep that card for next round, and your opponent may play another card, so he's wasting more cards on this round, which is already winning most likely. Okay, so it could bait out 2 reactions again. He could destroy the card that you put Adrenaline Rush on, hopefully you've protected it in some way, or he could pass, in which case you play 1 more card that you've been holding back and win the round and get to keep this Adrenaline Rush thing, which is great. The third kind of example is just stalling. Okay, so if you just stall a particular round, then the strength differential will go up as he's placing units and you're not. Things like Decoy, things like Adrenaline Rush, things like Quen, Last Wish, all these things do stuff to the board but don't actually affect your strength in any way. Decoy actually decreases your strength because you're removing a card from the board. So this will mean that your strength is staying relatively low and theirs is getting higher and higher as they're placing units, so they're more likely to pass. And then hopefully you've kept a card back like Dimerity and Bomb. We'll get over some cards which are very useful to beat your opponent in 1 card later. And next we've got some of the really powerful removal cards that people have been playing recently, which if people struggle to play around them, they may decide to pass. Things like Villain, Trettenmurf or Camby. If they can't defeat those particular cards, then, you know, it might bait a pass out quite early. Okay, so they do have timers on, so if they pass immediately, you can place 1 card and then pass yourself, and you'll still be alright. So that's some of the examples of cards that you can use to bluff your opponent into making them think that you're going to finish, so they pass, and then you can try and beat them. But now let's go on to the cards that you can actually use to beat them. I used the example of Geralt, which is a 12 strength card. He's a very inflexible one, but 12 strength is usually something that is not as easy to do. Okay, but there's quite a few other ones which can bridge a larger gap. So for example, Commander's Horn. If you've committed a large amount of forces to the board on one particular row, Commander's Horn can bridge a huge gap, which is really, really good. You've got cards like Gremist. He can bridge a 15 strength gap, most likely, which is pretty good. So Aeromancy, or any type of weather effect, is really, really good at trying to bridge the gap. Obviously, if you're fighting against monsters with weather immune units, it's not going to be as good. And you should be taking into account where your units are placed and where the opponents are placing theirs for optimal effect, of course. So another great card, which is excellent to use to beat your opponent, is if he's been building up a strength that he thinks you can't beat in one particular card. Then let's say he's got a 20 strength unit and you've got a 1 strength unit. Becca's Twisted Mirror will swap their strengths. The lowest and the highest on the board get swapped. Okay, so this is not just a difference in 19 strength from that 20 to the 1. It's actually a difference in 38, because you're not just removing the 19 from him, but you're adding 19 to you. So it's actually a huge swing in strength. Becca's Twisted Mirror does rely on your opponent placing high strength cards and you having low strength cards in order to work, though. You've got cards like Scorch or Geralt Igni if they're building, they've got a few units of the same strength and stuff like that. So there are quite a few cards which you can use to bridge a gap. Dimeritium Bomb is an excellent one as well if they're buffing a lot. So if you come across Scoia'tael Dwarves, they do a lot of buffing, and Dimeritium Bomb can really just win you that particular round very easily. One thing we've seen a lot of people play is Geralt Ard. So Aeromancy, Geralt Ard to win a round. Now that is 2 cards. If you're playing against a monster weather deck, then Geralt Ard is a free play because they're playing the weather for you. So Geralt Ard is one that a lot of people have been taking recently to win a particular round. So that's generally how you bluff in round 1. It's a lot easier to do in round 1 because it's going to be a contested round. Everyone wants to win it. Some people have it easier to win that. They're more flexible decks, so they can keep putting down cards. Some people have specific combos that they want to save for specific rounds, which can hurt quite a bit. But round 2 you can do some stuff as well. Like for example, if you've won round 1, you can place cards down and you can just basically stall and make him play a lot. And if say you've got 2 strength on the board and he's got 42, he may consider passing. Even though he shouldn't, he may consider passing. But if you know you've got that 1 Aeromancy and Ard in your hand, you could win the game if he passes. So, there are ways to bluff. You could just really, really stall and he could get fed up and still have cards in hand, but just pass anyway. And you might be able to make it. So, thanks for watching. I hope this helped. I'm going to show you some clips now where good examples of bluffing take place. And hopefully you learned. Any questions regarding this, feel free to ask me in the comments below and I'll try and reply to all of you. But thanks for watching. Take care and I hope you enjoy the clips. You go all in with maximum strength, and then you pass early, so they have to use cards to beat you. 4th move is Stennis or Priscilla.
Don't make me laugh.
Siri. So there you go. He may have bluffed me. Either I can take this, or I can keep running. I'm going to do that and see what he does. Adrenaline Rush. Is he going to pass? I can choose whether I want to. He is going to pass. So now it's a hard choice for me. I can easily place 1 card down and win, which might be quite important. Or, what do you reckon? It's tough. Because I either give him 1 card advantage, or I deny him the card advantage and keep both units on the board, but don't take the win. I think one card is good, the win, so I'm going to do it. I'm happy to waste 1 card and get a win. I don't want to place a Necker because it would stop me getting this card. I want to keep both of these cards. It was a very odd decision. Why not Conjurer? I will Conjurer next time.
Got any victuals? Hungry like a wolf, I am.
Oh, that's why he decoys. Wow. Interesting. Liberty Dab has got to be... No. It's another bluffer. Now this one's dangerous now. He's bluffed that because he wants to lose. But he could win. You know? But any card that he plays could win. Has he discarded anything? He has. Let's have a look. Okay, so he's got a skirmisher. He could easily bring that out, and it would be beneficial to do that. But he would lose the card advantage he gains from her. And so I'm going to just let him have it if he wants to, or let him not have it if he doesn't want to. At this point. So he baited me, basically. He's playing a card, but he's going to lose the card advantage on her because he played her, you know, and I decided to pass. However, the card he played was kind of a setup for another round. He thinks I'm going to have a lot of weather, so he's forgetting about the skirmisher and he's going more for the light longship. And this is where Dagon really works. Vran vs. Vran. Do you have this deck on Gwent database? Not yet, Gibnick. Not yet. Light longship. No. Then see what happens. He may pass.
You're good.
Okay.
Real good.
Pass. Steal that Sigadrifa.
So
Yeah, so there is a massive benefit to losing the first round against Skellige. If you've got the caretaker, I mean. It means that you get first dibs. Oh! Yeah! Hey. Greatest name ever. I can't possibly put it up to 4K resolution because it won't allow me to. Animate portrait. Now if you look down here, these are animated, but they're not actually animated when you play them. But it gives you an idea of what they're going to be. Hopefully that one sees a little bit more movement. I don't think the crow moves. There, and none of these moves, so I think they're just work in progress for now. What do you do? That. Okay. What do?
Animate. Dagon.
Good, isn't it? Very good, isn't it? You gonna quit? That was a perfect example of baiting. Decoy is an excellent card used to bait. And I ruined his RNG, so that was, in my opinion, a really good Scorch. My RNG sucks, but doesn't matter, he hasn't got any. And 1 strength is really important for me, so. But we're buffing these each time, which is really, really good. There we go. So we got about 40 strength there. About. Now we do want something on the board, so I probably will place that Necker.
we shall do it my way.
Because at the minute my monster deck ability is not going to work. Although we will keep it, which isn't great. Hopefully we'll get an Ekamara later so we can get maximum effectiveness from this.
For Handel!
Finally. I think I'll do that as well. Because that's, you can't actually keep that card. Because the monster deck ability won't allow you to keep anything that's not neutral or monsters. It says keep a random non-gold neutral or monster unit on your side. It might not also allow disloyal cards or cards from your opponent, I don't know. But we get to keep both of those. Now that's not good to keep, but we'll have to work with it.
Good grief! You're worse than children!
Why Caranthea? Because generally speaking, I have a lot of low-level units, 1 strength stuff.
Let's enjoy the weather while we still can.
Well,
I'll feed you to the crows!
so far he's only used 1 card. Okay, so you have to use another card.
Spally!
Caranthea is a good gold. And we split up our combos a little differently. We used him early there because, well, you know, I know the golems were getting hit by fireball traps anyway. So, okay.